honestly, these people who are relying on social videos for learning design. I mean, we're leading to a generation of designers that are basically copycats, right? They're able to replicate shit that they're seeing online over and over, but there's nothing original coming from. There's no original thought. You're listening to the Angry Designer Podcast, where we help frustrated graphic designers crush the industry bull and learn what it takes to charge what you're worth and build badass, rewarding careers. In this episode, we're tearing down the so-called design rules that you're getting from social media and getting real about what it takes to stand out as a designer. It's not about following recipes on how to create logos and how to space your layouts. It's about understanding the thought process that drives creativity. We're going to show you how to ditch those stupid social shortcuts, think for yourself, and actually create instead of copy. So grab yourself that drink, sit back and relax, or hang on to that steering wheel and tune in, as this shit is going to level up your design game, and while we uncover the whole why behind the design.
Hey!
What was that? That
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, I don't even
Terminator?
remember. Oh, the Terminator.
Wasn't it?
We should have angry Terminator music starting our episode.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh, that would set the tone,
For
right?
the AI ones.
For the AI.
The AI stories we do.
Cheers,
so
mon
we're
frere.
doing the same thing, right? Mr. Jefferson?
Boy, are we. Mr. Jefferson.
Miss-
What was that? George Jefferson? That's right. Sorry, that's where I was going with that one.
To the east side. Yeah.
Mr. George Jefferson.
Jefferson.
I remember that.
Yes.
Oh, and yes,
It was a
we are
great
going to
show.
finish off his great show.
Yeah, this was President Jefferson.
Oh, this is so good, though.
No, that's nice.
Does it feel good like a couple weeks later? I haven't
does.
had bourbon, I feel like, for like 2 weeks now.
It's been a long time. Yes.
Whoa, that feels so good. But that's right. That was a little tough bourbon,
It was.
wasn't it?
It had a burn going down, but
This
I
one does have
remember.
a good. Oh, yeah.
The second and third shot were like.
I think it was
ooh, yeah,
actually
nice
the
warm
second,
hug.
third glass. It's kind of better on this one.
Ooh, yeah.
So yes, we are recommending Jefferson's, but this
Yeah.
is not for the newbies or the weak at hearts. This is definitely stronger,
This is stronger.
flavorful, but
Very flavorful.
stronger.
Yes. Oh yeah, it'll put hair on your peaches.
Mm.
If you have peaches, I don't know.
Wow, we
Yes.
went there. Anyway.
Where'd you get that shirt? You should tell
Oh,
everybody.
fuck. Do you see this shirt? Check
Look
this
at
out.
that. Awesome.
Super Grover. Anybody remember Super Grover from Sesame Street? This was from, because we
Yes.
went to Fan Expo last
That's
week.
right.
And man, do I love
Was
that
it
place.
kick ass or what?
Boy, was it was a long day.
It was a long day.
tiring as hell.
It was great.
But you know, the artists, the sketch duel. There was people that I follow on Instagram that were there that I didn't realize till afterwards.
Oh,
I know, right? So it's like that annual jolt of creativity.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
you go to Fan Expo and it's just you're surrounded by so many talented people
There's
everywhere,
a lot.
walking the floor, like showing their costumes, illustrators, designers, crafting people. It's just not to mention all the other real cool stuff like the video game booths
Yep.
and like I mean it was also good. So
Yeah, it was
this
fantastic.
is from Retro Kid
Retro
brand.
Kid,
And it's like
which was huge with our crew.
huge with our
Everybody
crew.
loved
Yeah,
it.
we got this. I think I got like a Cookie Monster hoodie as well, and a YTV hoodie as well. So come wintertime, you guys might see some fancy hoodies from me. Other than just, it was such a good event.
Yeah, it was great.
It
was cool. Yeah.
It was up, but it was tiring.
Yeah, it was very, very hard for us old dudes.
Speak for yourself.
Me especially, because.
But it's important,
dude.
It's important to, because that's our annual creative retreat, kind
Totally.
of, right?
Yep.
Like we all go, we shut down. Customers are cool with it, and we just
Take a day and
we
dig
just
in.
dig in, right? Literally, and it's just, and I'm always like feeling like I'm dragging everybody there, but it seems like everybody enjoys it,
Yeah,
even though
I
it's
think everybody's
a
cool
lot of
with
the
it.
same.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of us were sick, and
Oh my God,
you know,
yeah.
so they couldn't partake, and some people were on holidays, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I think everybody
Everybody
was
who was
totally,
able
totally
came.
digging it. Luis and I were in the back of the car, and we were kind of yawning by the
At
end.
the end, the ride back was a little tough, wasn't it?
Harder.
Yeah,
it was,
right.
But it was good. It was fun. It's awesome.
I encourage everybody to go and nerd out, whether your nerd is anime or crafting or comics, or if it's like totally opposite, like music, going to concerts. You have to embrace. You have to embrace that, because how else are you going to take your creativity to another level?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You find inspiration at these places. You learn ideas.
And it's the physical aspect of it. The art is right there in your hands.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you can see it. And people were drawing.
And the artists.
The artists were there. Yeah, we went to the sketch. What was it? What was it called?
Duel.
Sketch Duel. Sketchulamania or something like that.
Sketchamania, where it was the champion from last year, Mike Hull, right?
He was awesome.
He was awesome. But he was dethroned this year. But
he was.
How cool was that, right?
Yeah, it was great.
So it's such a different way to get, to learn from, to get inspired, to get information, right? As opposed to a lot of the shit that I'm seeing nowadays. Okay. And I haven't told you this, but in the initial episode that, I was studying for, and I was like trying to put together, my thoughts on was about grids. I figured, what, let's do a whole episode on just talking about grids, where they came from, how to use them, right?
Yeah.
And
I like that.
I ended and we will, because I did start with that, and I got a lot of information on it. But what happened is I came across some social videos on grids, and it was like, how to use grids to make your logo better and how to proportionate your logo. And it was like an influencer who was like, hey, you don't know the size of your logo mark and it's centered over top of your font. Well, do this. And then he started drawing a grid on top of the lettering, and then he did a math equation and resized it. And it was like, voila, it was that fucking easy. And I was like, wait a minute, it can't be that easy. So I quickly opened up my computer, right? Or I opened up Illustrator. I put the word out there for the Angry Designer, right? I took our icon, I put it in, I sized it up according to this, and guess what?
It didn't work.
Fucking no, it didn't work. And again, it's a problem, right? Because instantly I'm like, so here I'm watching this person on social say, do this,
it's surefire. It's gonna work.
It's a formula, right? Here's a recipe for design.
Recipe.
And in the end, it looked like shit. It didn't work. And, it kind of pissed me off, because it was like trying to say that what we're doing is very formulaic, right? And I mean, design isn't about following recipes, right? This is about learning about recipes, but how to create your own flavors of this whole experience, right? And so that's what kind of got me going, is the absurdity of what we're seeing online when it comes to people learning about design and how to actually learn design. Right. So I figured, what, I quickly shifted, my train of thought, and I was like, I think this deserves more of a talk than grids. And we'll get to grids, don't get me wrong. And I'll do that in a future episode. I don't even know what I want to say and how much of this really makes me angry, right?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying, because it's like people are trying to put a formula or a recipe to what it is we do.
Exactly. Like, I can appreciate it's a nice start on how to get there. You know what I mean? But by no means is it the end all, and it's what people should follow, right? Yeah. Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about, like some of our friends who show us tips and tricks on how to use the apps. Right? Technical skills, hey, I'm all for social videos,
Bring it on.
How to do something more efficiently. Hey, great. Because, God knows these apps are big and they're confusing. And I always appreciate when, I've got someone like James showing us, hey, I can do this for you. I can show you a better way to do what you're doing and get that result. Great.
Yeah.
I'm talking about when people are learning design principles based on somebody, and they're trying to find you a shortcut, a recipe, a this or that. Yeah. And the problem is, very rarely does it end up like what they're showing. Okay, more times than not, it doesn't. Yeah. And there's so many consequences to this, right? Yeah. And this is the problem that I'm having, is that, people who are relying on ratios and formulas and tricks and hacks on how to actually, do design, they're replicating, they're not innovating. Yeah. And that's the problem with this whole idea, right? Yeah. Like, these recipes are teaching people to follow, not how to innovate and be creative, right? And that's my it reminded me so much about college, and everybody knows my college fucking experience.
But it was like, if you didn't, fit in that mold.
Yeah.
And kind of do what they wanted you to do, and because they're the experts, they're the masters, they're the ones that we're supposed to look up to. So if you don't follow and fit in that mold, well, then you don't fit in the club.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of my worry about a lot of what I'm seeing out there with learning how to design online, like with all these quick short little videos. Like, I'm sorry, but a short. Okay, like a YouTube short or an Instagram short or TikTok short is not a place on how to actually learn how to design.
Yes.
Okay, and I think that is my concern about what's happening with the generation today.
You're absolutely right. And these people, some of these guys should know better, I would think, right? Like, this is kind of one of those experience things, and this one size fits all. Applying this to what you're doing, this is good, but this is not going to work for everybody. And you should be aware, you should be telling people that this may not work for you.
Yes.
This works for me.
Yes.
In this particular.
Fair enough, right? And that's even again, I remember, like, nothing lined up when I tried this. No. None of the, it's funny how grids, all this, they look so good when they're finished, but I'm starting to think that a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing online about, look, match this up with this size, left, right, here's your proportion, and bang, you made up your own golden fucking ratio, right? Like, honestly, these people who are relying on social videos for learning design. I mean, we're leading to a generation of designers that are basically copycats, right? They're able to replicate shit that they're seeing online over and over, but there's nothing original coming from. There's no original thought. They're not going to be able to think for themselves. They're not going to be, critical thinkers. And this is the worry. I genuinely worry because, and again, I think this is a bigger issue social media wise in general, right? Where people are learning so much, but for design especially, because I'm so passionate about our group, our people, everybody that we help, I think we got some issues here that we have to kind of talk about, in my opinion.
Big time. Yeah, because, when we were coming up, we saw books and you noticed artists and stuff like that. But again, they weren't telling you their tricks and all their stuff. You had to kind of get there yourself.
Yes.
By, like, you would analyze.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
We had our own processes for this.
You had your own process, yes.
Where right now, like, let's face it, shorts are 60 seconds or less.
And what can you learn in 60 seconds?
Dude,
regarding design.
It's not even 60
barely learn
seconds.
The tips for the programs in 60 seconds.
It's not even that. And the problem is because none of these videos are 60 seconds. They're 30 to 15 seconds.
Faster than that. Exactly.
Because our attention span is so little.
Yeah.
And again, it's not how you learn design. Again, because there is no one size fits all with this, right? When you start relying on social media for learning how to design, okay, and I'm not technical skills, but actually learning how to design, right? You're just touching this at a very surface level.
Yes.
It's very superficial.
You're scratching the surface.
Right.
Exactly like you said.
And again, that's not actually design. That's copying and replicating.
Nope.
Which is a concern, right? Obviously, in order to make it look good, you gotta, put an overemphasis on trends. Otherwise, it's not even going to look interesting. People are going to be like, it's like boring, or, obviously the result isn't there. It's not what I'm looking at. Obviously there's no context behind it because, again, it's a recipe. What kind of context can you put behind a recipe, right? Let alone, critical thinking and thinking for yourself. Like, again, how do you apply this shit when you're learning it on such a high level, right? In all fairness, like you said, in 60 seconds, if you even get anywhere near that, okay? The information that you're getting, it's not going to be pure, right? So there's definitely going to be misinformation given at that. There's going to be steps that are included.
And not included.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
Steps
left out in order to save time.
Exactly. Right? So it's like, well, then wait, you missed that whole step?
Yes.
That usually takes a day. Fuck. Right?
Yes.
And then what this does is it kind of gives this whole illusion of mastery that you are the shit, but really, like, you can't be with that kind of delivery, right? It's just, it takes forever forever to become a master of what we do.
Yes.
But when you're seeing these people on social just kind of be like, hey, clickety click, here you go, follow my recipe on how to build a logo or how to properly size it or what the ratios are, dude. It's almost devaluing what we do.
Exactly.
Saying that, hey, the 20 years it took me to do this, well, I must be a fucking moron because I could have learned it in 30 seconds on social media, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, all this adds up to fucking imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Because what was my experience with this, right? Like I said, I got frustrated because I'm like, wait a minute,
It's not working.
it's not working. Why isn't it working?
Yes.
And the first thing I do is I blame myself.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm like, it's a formula.
Yeah.
He put that formula clear as day. Add this, add that, up, down, measure it up.
Easy peasy.
Why does it look wrong? There's this whole other world of why it didn't go wrong. My mark was a different shape. My fonts were wider. It was a different style.
Yes.
Like there was other issues with what I was dealing with, not just this.
Not just that.
But again, you don't get to go in that deep.
Yeah.
Because in 30 seconds, all I got was, hey, this is how you properly should size this. 1, 2, 3. And when I did it, it didn't look good.
It didn't look good.
It didn't look good. So again, I blame myself.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you start thinking, you're not good enough. You're not as good, and then everything starts to crumble.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I think, ultimately, all this shit that we're seeing, on social media and with these people learning how to design is just going to create more internal conflict for designers.
And the funny thing with that is like you've got a broad sense of what's going on. Like design, what's happening. You had the smarts to know that, hey, because of these variables, this is not going to work for what if you're just new to it?
Yes,
And you
absolutely.
try this, like how horrible would that be?
Absolutely,
Yes,
dude.
like you
absolutely.
beat yourself up for a couple of seconds and you're like, oh, wait, it's because of this that wasn't working. Somebody else may not have that.
Well, and the thing is, if you don't have the kind of experience we have, okay, you're going to fall short.
Yes.
And you will be a copycat.
Yep.
You will be, what we call, a pappagallo, which is just like,
I love that.
fancy word, I think, for parrot, which basically just regurgitates what it's seeing, right? And I mean, for what? For finding shortcuts, for maybe finding a hack to try to do what, genuinely it takes, years to learn how to do, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's it. It's like, I feel that these videos promote shortcuts, finding shortcuts. And while I am 100% for finding shortcuts in how to do the work itself the apps, right?
Brilliant.
There's no way to find a shortcut in design and learning how to design.
Yeah.
You've got to put in the time. You've got to, cut your teeth, like you say, right?
Yeah.
And actually get through all those, right?
Yeah.
Design mastery doesn't come from following somebody on fucking social media.
Nope.
Design mastery comes from time, experience, and the willingness to experiment, to create, to fail, to figure out why you're doing this. That's where true design mastery comes. Nobody wakes up as a fucking pro and nobody becomes a designer, a master designer from following somebody. That's for fucking sure.
Exactly.
Oh, dude. It's okay. I hate those. But this doesn't mean that I hate all of the social media, like people I see out there that are doing stuff, okay? I don't know if anybody follows. Obviously, we rave about Alan, right? Alan Peters.
Yeah.
Okay. Fucking one of my design heroes. And the dude's alive, which is great, right? He's not like Massimo Vignelli, who's not.
Yeah.
And even
He's a living
CJ,
legend.
right? CJ
Yep,
Crawley.
CJ.
I mean, again, what they're doing, which I love, okay, is their series lately on social medias is they're actually dissecting stuff and they're sharing their thought process behind what they're doing. Okay. This to me is design education.
Yes.
Okay. This isn't a recipe. This isn't follow A, B, and C. This is studying the thought process behind what it is they're doing. Okay.
Yep.
This is fucking brilliant. And again, I tip my hat. I give high fives. I praise these guys for doing this because to me, this is real value. Not fucking show me a ratio on how to size things up and become like, a pappagallo. Okay. For real. Like by what these guys are doing is, you're understanding the methodology that they're employing, right?
Yep.
Their thought process in behind what they're doing when they're dissecting stuff, right?
Yes.
This, you're listening to them because they're talking about what they're looking at, what they're finding as issues, and how they are resolving these issues.
Yes.
Whether they're real clients, whether they're, mock brands, existing brands that they're just making better. But there is so much value to what the information they're putting out with. That is good design education.
Is great design
That's
education.
I wish more people were embracing this kind of idea, this kind of methodology in teaching designers.
Yep. CJ is awesome because he'll do up a logo or a word mark or something like that, send it to the client, and then the client gives feedback to him, which is very real. It's not just like, I did this, I came up with this, and then this at the end of the video.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's not the real world.
That's right.
There's going to be changes. There's going to be things involved. Even greats like CJ is going to be hit a
And what's
roadblock.
cool is because they're sharing their process, their methodology, right? We don't have to follow that methodology.
No.
But what we do is we learn to understand their train of thought.
Yes.
Okay.
How he
goes about it, right?
Yes.
The problem that he sees.
Exactly.
Okay. How he would correct it. Why this font maybe isn't the best choice, and not because he doesn't like it. It's because maybe it doesn't reflect the audience. It maybe is dated. It's maybe limiting or whatever, right? They'll talk you through this, right? And then it allows you to learn how to dissect not only your own shit, but then also give good advice to customers when you're analyzing because let's face it, oftentimes you're put on the spot and the customer's like, well, what do you think, right?
Yeah.
Never, ever say, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Or I personally feel this, or I feel no, because it's not, they're not hiring you for your personal opinions. They're hiring you for your expertise.
Exactly.
Which expertise is based on your experience. Okay.
Yeah.
So, this way, what they're teaching us is, or what they're teaching designers is they're teaching them, how to actually think for themselves. That's critical thinking.
Big time.
Okay. And that's why I appreciate the shit that they're doing and they're putting on there, right? You're doing more than just seeing the end result.
Yeah. Yes.
You're learning the why.
What
was behind
here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right? That's fucking gold. Because that's allowing us to kind of think for ourselves.
Yep.
Where the other stuff isn't thinking for themselves. If there's a design recipe out there that you're following, well, you're not thinking for yourself at all.
No.
My mother was, to this day, God rest her fucking soul. She was the best cook.
Yep.
I've gone to restaurants, I've tasted from people, and I'm like, no, never, right?
Yep.
And it's not because she could follow a fucking recipe. Because let me tell you, she did not have a recipe card anywhere.
Yes.
Okay? She would look at a recipe. She would look at an end product. She would dissect an end product. And then she would formulate her own variation of it to be like, you know what? This pasta is a little overcooked. I'm going to, if I did this, it would be a little less. It's too watery. I would thicken it up like this. And she would make her own concoctions based on that. And so she had that ability.
Right.
So it wasn't because she followed a recipe on how to get to that final product.
She used her instinct and her guts and said, hey, you know what? Because of my expertise and my expert level, I can tell that this pasta is watery.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, she did that everything from fucking desserts to this.
Yeah.
It was endless what this woman could do. My God, it was just so much creativity and talent.
And here's the thing, like in this kind of thing, how much is instinctual in what we do?
Interesting, eh?
Is there something like a gut in you when you're designing something that you're just like, this should not work?
Yes.
But here in this instance, it does.
I do think so, but I don't think it's, again, instructual.
With the fundamentals.
It's gained.
No.
Like, I mean, like a dog, Finn, he's instinctually, if he sees a squirrel outside, he wants to go and chase it and eat it.
That's
even
his
though
job.
he's a completely domesticated animal.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
But I think for us in design, I think design instinct is something that is acquired over time.
Right.
And then you realize, right? That's off. That feels right. It doesn't, right?
Yes.
There isn't just a black and white formula to each.
Right.
Right. And again, let's face it, right? Obviously there isn't, because that's why you have greats like David Carson and Paul Ashore, who just, they broke all the rules. They didn't follow a recipe.
Nope.
Right? Because imagine how fucking boring everything would be if everything was the same.
Exactly.
However, if people are learning design by people like this on a regular basis, everything would look the same.
Exactly.
And I hate to say it, but lately a lot of shit does look the same.
It has been, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm a huge fan of the of the halftone dots. But
Yeah.
boy, oh boy, is that made a comeback or what?
I know,
Like,
right? I mean, yeah,
wow.
halftone's great. There's always been a place for halftone, but it just seems like people are just using it
seems like-
haphazardly
yes,
now, right?
Exactly. And I think it's a little bit of the chicken and the egg, because there's so many cool things in these apps that you can do these kind of things. So it's kind of like, are they coming back because of what Illustrator is giving us?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the tools
fair enough, right?
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm just
No, I
speculating
hear
on
you,
that one,
dude.
but
I
yeah.
hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
The difference between the design recipes in trying to teach design versus, the Alan Peters and the CJ Cawley, teaching design. The difference is, one is just copying.
Yep.
Copying, it's boring. It's
Right.
it's learning how to do things. And unfortunately, it's teaching you how to replicate something that doesn't always work.
Right.
Which leads to so many long-term problems. Okay. Versus, the other, which our friends are doing, okay, is teaching designers how to independently think for themselves.
Yeah,
Okay.
here we go.
Which independent thinking, in my opinion, is the ultimate skill
Yes.
for a graphic designer, because you need that. Okay. These recipes are giving you this false sense of a finished product,
Yes.
but that's not going to work. That's not going to give you longevity.
No.
You have to be able to think for yourself, right? I mean, again, you have to be able, that's how true creativity and originality is accomplished, okay? By, taking something, right? Dissecting it, finding out where it starts, and then breaking outside of the prescribed methods that people tell you at school or on these fucking, social media things, right? If anything, I'd say always try to break those rules if you can.
Yep.
But again, thinking for yourself, because when you start thinking for yourself, right, you start building confidence in your judgment. Okay. Let's face it, right? That's the complete opposite of imposter syndrome.
Big time.
Okay,
Big time.
absolutely, right? This allows you to trust your own decisions, not just fucking a recipe or a guideline, because that's how he told me I should do it, right? Again, when you start, thinking for yourself, you fuel your own creative,
Yes.
right? You fuel your own creativity and you become a lot more innovative in the way you think and the way you go about things, right? That's what a designer does, is they kind of, think outside the box in the brief, but outside the box, not just follow the fucking brief, right? This isn't a
Exactly.
connect the dots.
Yes.
So reduces our imposter syndrome situation, right? Because again, once you start thinking for yourself, you start gaining confidence. You're not feeling like you can't do it anymore, because you are now able to confidently dissect things, right? And that's what they're teaching you, is how to actually, deconstruct, not just replicate, which is massive. Okay.
Yes.
And again, what this does is then this kind of promotes your internal validation. So, you become a stronger, more confident designer, right? In how you approach, projects and problems and stuff. And that's great. And then, it gives you more courage towards breaking the rules. And like David Carson isn't David Carson because it came out of the box like that, right? Like he pushed it, he pushed, and he started getting more confidence. Because again, nobody goes from, like a designer out of college to a David Carson overnight, because people would tell you to fuck off, right? This guy,
Or there'd be a million David Carsons out there.
exactly, right?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. No, like, I mean, again, he pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. Same with Paula Shore, pushed it and pushed it. And then once they finally got enough confidence and enough experience behind them, they're leading the way, right? But they didn't do that by following somebody else's lead.
No.
They did that by, learning and then becoming, empowering themselves, being able to make their own decisions.
Yes.
And that's what you're not learning on these, quick how to properly size your logo, how to, get your ratio for your headlines and your ads and this and that. Like, take this shit with a grain of salt, honestly, and don't let it, sway you one way or another in your value as a designer, because honestly, I don't think that they're providing any value, okay, other than maybe a very loose guideline to start.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a, prescription on how to do it. It's just a very loose, you want somewhere to start? Okay. Start here.
Yes. Here's a great
Okay.
spot to go. Yeah.
And I remember I did make that recommendation once. I was like, like when you're sizing out, copy, right? A headline, make your sub headline 50% of the headline. Okay. So if your headline's 124, make the other one 62, right?
Yeah.
But I quickly said, but that might not always feel right.
That's right. See? The instincts.
Exactly.
The guts.
So you can start there, because it's like, how
Yes.
do you start, right?
Yes.
And I always tell everybody here, start with
Start
halving it at the very least.
Yes.
And then if it feels like it's not balanced because there's so many other fucking elements in there,
Exactly.
then work up from there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of this, there should be a fucking warning on all of these.
on these shorts.
Oh, they should be, right?
Yeah,
Being
yeah.
like, listen, warning, like this,
Yeah.
don't take
Yeah.
this verbatim.
Yes.
Use
this
it as
works for me. This may not work for you.
Yeah.
Why not?
That's exactly. Well, you're right.
I think you're right. I think that is a disingenuous kind of way to lead people down.
I agree. I agree.
There should be, but and I think you and I know this, but I
Yes.
think some people aren't always aware that, hey, this is not a one size fits all. This may not, what this cat's doing may not work for you. We know that.
Yes, you're right. You're
And
right.
you had to try it to see, to prove to that, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think half the time, we fuck up, and that's how we
you learn.
That's how we learn how to do
exactly
stuff
right.
like that
Exactly
too, right?
But there's a difference between fucking up and feeling like you're a failure.
And then feeling like, and like, oh my God.
Right.
I
Well, because
suck.
again, if something's like if somebody online is telling you, hey, A plus B equals C.
Yeah.
And when you do it, it's like wrong.
I get B plus.
Yeah.
How's this work? Yeah.
Yeah. It just-
right.
And that's the difference,
Yeah.
right? Like you learn by making mistakes.
You learn by fucking up.
But the thing is, if you are constantly feeling like you're not, equivalent to these people who are giving you these straight formulas,
Yep.
well, shit, then again, you're not even going to want to continue to try.
Exactly.
They need to promote this independent thinking, which is why, again, I love watching Alan's videos. I love watching CJ's videos.
Yep.
I love watching these videos that are helping us deconstruct shit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I did is I kind of, through watching their videos, okay, I kind of broke down a list here, 7 points, okay, on what to do when you're dissecting a design that you admire, okay, because sometimes they'll dissect like an existing logo that they think that, that they're giving their opinion on, right?
Hey, didn't the Angry Designers do something like that?
Angry Designers did something great like this, except we gave you our opinions on it, damn it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, check out the celebrity episode that we
It's
just did.
awesome.
But, so either, these 7 things, follow these points, when you're either dissecting a design that you admire,
Yep.
okay, or you don't admire.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And, dig into the thought process behind it. And I think that's the key here. Okay. Is to be able to dig into the design, the thought process on what they're doing, right? Because I'm trying to understand what they were doing. And this is kind of what I got out of this. Okay. Is, first off, when these guys are pitching, the logo, be it a present one or their customers are right. First thing they're trying to do is they're trying to identify the problems that they see.
Yeah.
Okay. In the logo. And it's not like something, superfluous, like, oh, it's just not trendy like today's shit, right? Like they're actually putting their design chops behind it, right? They're talking about the weight, the balance between the logos, the space, the relationship between it, right? Understand like the core challenge, okay, that, the design is trying to address, okay? And then honestly, you have to try to learn how to appreciate the decision-making behind it, even though you don't have to agree with it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But understand where they came from and try to, understand, what they did to appreciate, that final outcome.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And then number 2, kind of go through and evaluate the choices that were made.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is where you design analyze the design elements. You look at the colors chosen, the typography, the layout, right? And try to figure out why they were chosen. Again, good or bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, then try to reverse engineer the steps on how they got there.
Yes. This
Okay.
is gold.
So this is and I think this is the challenge, right? By reverse engineering and breaking down the design process, right? You're trying to understand how, what was done to get to that workflow.
Yeah.
Okay. To get to the workflow and the challenges they face to get to that part. Okay. So again, like the reverse engineer, I think is key in this case, right? Like, why was this done? What else? And again, that's like even like silly things like the choices behind what they did, right? Is a door company, and is this supposed to represent a door in the logo, right?
Yeah.
Why? Alan did a great one about the his elevator customer, with the up and down arrows, which I thought was fucking mind blowing,
Amazing,
right?
yes.
So again, by looking, if you don't have an Alan explaining this, right, try to reverse engineer the thought process behind this. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Number 4, then obviously consider the audience
Yep.
that this is for.
Right.
Okay. And again, this allows you to reflect on how the design meets that target audience, right? Understand how it meets their needs, their preferences, the demographic, their likes, their hates, right? And this number 5, right? Start looking to see if you can study past iterations of it. Okay. And again, I always do that, right? And again, a lot of the logos that these guys are, going on about, right? They always show us the previous one too, right? CJ showed us previous versions of some of the logos.
Yep.
I'm not sure if Alan did so much, but I know I always look at past ones to see how things have, iterated and innovated over the years, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is key. Okay. And then of course, push yourself and ask what if questions. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean about challenge the design itself by imagining the different scenarios it could be in, right? And the impact, right? What if, we needed to see it like this? What if, we added that to it, right? And start kind of like going down this rabbit hole of what ifs, for this actual design. And then, last but not least, then apply it to your own work, right? Apply your own work to that design. Right. And start kind of like mixing it all up. This is where, you see when Alan shows you, his choices on what he did. Right. And how he addresses. Right. But again, he never just got there just by sitting down. And he went through a process. And while I didn't ask him through his process, he talks through a lot of it. So I kind of think that, in my opinion, a lot of it's trying to identify the problem that was chosen, evaluate the choices that were made, reverse engineering the steps on how they got there, consider the audience, which could obviously be first too. That's just somewhere along the process. Look to see if there's iterations that you can kind of see a pattern that's kind of going from. Of course, ask what if anywhere you can, and then apply, your own work to it, right? Apply to your own, apply these steps to the stuff that you're doing, and see what you can come up with, right? But again, you're constantly thinking for yourself during this process and trying to see what you can come up with versus what's already there. Okay. So I'm not just going to go and apply a recipe to a new logo project, right? Because again, it's not going to work.
Yeah. If you just put it out there without tasting it to your guests,
you're right.
How good is that?
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Salt.
And this, salt on everything, in my opinion. Big, bold, and salty. That's how I like shit. Oh, wait, we're talking about food or design here?
Going back to your mother's recipe.
Yes. Right.
But these are awesome. And you can bet Alan uses some variation of these.
I think so. And again,
steps.
Maybe the next time we talk, we'll actually go through this and we'll make a point of it in the future of actually asking him through this process.
Yeah.
But just from what I could see, if I'd be applying, what they do to either an existing logo that, I have as a project or just, a fictitious logo, or if I was to apply it to like, I don't know, the fucking Amazon logo or the Nike logo or something, right?
Right.
I kind of figure I would try to go roughly something like this. I mean, I'd love to hear if anybody's got any other ideas on this.
Yeah, this is
but,
good.
I mean, again, this, this all promotes thinking for yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This all, not following somebody else's recipe, but, figure this out for yourself. I always appreciate when people share their process. Okay. But I don't, what I don't appreciate is when people try to sell me an already done solution and be like, here you go.
Yeah.
This'll
recipe.
work.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed,
100%.
right?
Can't lose.
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
And I'm a little worried, right?
I know, exactly.
I get worried when I see that. Yeah. And I think that's why we're pretty clear that, the shit that we recommend is only based on shit that worked for us.
Right.
It's by no means the right way to do it. And this isn't the right way to, dissect or a design or whatever, but just this is kind of what I think I saw.
Yep.
Could be wrong. This could be added to, but I think that this is a good start.
Yeah.
Because again, it's promoting that independent thinking.
Yes. Yes. And now I know you hate school and stuff like that, but there's something to be said about a 3-year program versus a 30-second short. Don't you think?
Well, I think that there's a lot to be said about a 3-year, besides the cost involved behind it.
I know, but there's an intensive 3-year, you know what I mean? Like you're immersed in it for 3 years.
There's a lot of benefit to school. And I mean, ultimately, I saw this fantastic, again, here, I'm going to quote Sylvester Stallone. Again, right? And it was, and it was, what does, a 3-year education, what does college actually show an employer, right? And it's not necessarily that it's showing an employer, hey, you've got this now certificate and you are above everybody else. What it's showing to an employer is that you can commit yourself, show up every day, complete a list of tasks, do them in an above average format, of course, because you have to pass, right? And do it consistently for 3 years. I think That's what schooling is teaching you. Yeah, whether you learn school, design fundamentals or design principles at school or online, what I do think school gives you is that consistency that I think people need.
Yeah.
And I think they can achieve that online as well.
Yeah, you can, but what I'm saying is not in a 30-second short, which I think
I agree.
we are in agreement on that anyway.
there,
This is
yeah.
part of the reason why we're doing this.
But it's funny, but what didn't work why did I have an issue with school? Because they were very black and white.
They were
with
very
us.
black and white. Yeah.
And it's not. Graphic design is so subjective.
It is.
And they were crushing free thinking in my course. And I hated that for them.
And I'm surprised that a reputable institution
Yeah.
as the one that you went to, that they would do something like that.
Oh, it was such a bad experience.
It's sad.
It's
kind of sad. And I hope school isn't like that now.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I wonder, what a program would be like now with what is happening online.
I'd love to see how it's keeping up.
I know. This is the kind of stuff where, like, how do you compete with that kind
exactly
of stuff?
right.
But anyway, that may be a different topic. I don't know. But it's just kind of.
But it's about learning.
Yes, it's about learning. That's exactly it. Like, there's the long game, and then there's the short game that's not teaching you the right way to do things.
Well, exactly. And you can't shortcut this shit.
You cannot shortcut this shit.
So don't try to rely on this shit. You rely on it for entertainment. Rely on it
as
entertainment. A loose guideline.
Yes.
A loose guideline with flash and music and some, kind of fluff around it and, start there. But don't let this shit get you down. Don't let this shit, make you feel in any which way, inadequate on what you're creating and that the shit that you're doing doesn't look as good as that stuff. Don't let what you're seeing online affect you in any which way, because honestly, in my opinion, what they're giving out online isn't 100% honest.
Yes.
It isn't, accurate. It isn't a reflection of all jobs.
Yep.
It's just a reflection of one job.
Particular
one
job.
job. And guess what? This formula worked for this one situation.
Yep.
And that's it.
Don't
assume that formula is now, that design recipe is going to work everywhere else. Because the reality is, I guarantee you, 99% of the times, it won't.
Yeah.
And that's not your fault.
Yep.
It's the fault of the video and the person who made the video that is, maybe making it for maybe not the right reasons always.
I get it. I understand why people would do that. That makes sense. Because in their minds, their theory is that it works. It works.
Yeah.
Do you
for
know
that
what I mean?
one idea.
But they're not. But this is the thing: is they're not being honest and saying, for this particular job, this works.
Absolutely.
Which I think you should have that disclaimer on there.
If
you're doing something like that. It's not like this catch-all, this will work. And grids do work.
Grids
work are very
like
important.
Goals,
so
right?
I totally understand that.
Yeah, they do, right? But again, let's face it, there isn't just one grid.
There isn't just one grid.
And that's what made that episode really hard to figure out. Because how do you explain to people that there's grids with 3 columns, there's grids with 5, there's grids with 14? Man, that was a lot but we'll get to that one day. We will get to that.
Yeah.
Needless to say, please follow your heart.
Yeah.
Follow your intuition, whether you are a new designer or whether you're an experienced designer, right? Don't think that because your end result isn't, the same as the end result of what you're seeing online. Don't think that that's a reflection of your ability and who you are as a designer, okay? Don't learn design education from shorts.
Nope.
Plain and simple.
Do not.
Okay? Maybe as a guideline to start.
Yeah.
Right? But think for your own fucking self thereafter.
That's right. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, really, eh?
Recipe.
I like that. My mother would be proud.
Yes, she would.
Well, everybody, I would love to hear what you have to say about this. Tell us we're right, tell us we're wrong. I don't really care. This was an opinion episode, and this shit I kind of feel like was harming more than it was doing good out there. And I felt like it needed to be said.
And this is good. These seven
ways of dissecting a design, right?
This is
literally
good. Always have that caveat in your mind
when you're
looking at this kind of stuff.
Honestly, learn how to think for yourself.
Yes.
Learn how to, identify these problems, figure out why they chose what they did, reverse engineer this shit.
That's great.
Consider the audience that you're doing it for, study what they've done beforehand, ask what if questions to try to throw everything at it. And last but not least, add your own flavors to it. follow this, on your next project when you're trying to updo somebody else's old work, or just for shits and giggles and something you see, and kind of take it to a new level. I think this is the thought mentality that we need to see more promoted online.
Big time.
Not necessarily, recipes to success, because I think that's all a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We called it. We called it.
Anyway, guys, hit us up on our website. By all means, we're trying to, develop a list so we can build a good graphic design newsletter out there, because I do think that the world needs one. And I haven't been able to find one yet that I'm overly in love with. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Drop us a line on our website. Give us your information and be added to our list, so that when we do launch our first one or a second one, you can tell us if you love it or hate it, and how to make it better, and how to make it the best kick-ass graphic design newsletter out there.
Yeah.
And hit us up on Instagram, because that's where we talk to everybody the most. That's where we communicate. We do love our personal messages. Hit us up. And again, tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. Not much, of course, but whatever.
You're so handsome. You can't do anything wrong.
All right.
I'm kidding, of course. Yeah.
With that being said,
Yes.
my name's Massimo.
And my name is Sean.
Stay creative.
And stay angry.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.